Hey everyone, Chris Carter here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Going to get you all my post-game thoughts on the Steelers preseason opener where they beat the Jaguars 31-25. The score doesn't really matter, but the process does, and they got a lot of the process right. We'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things at the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. Like this episode. This is a bonus content episode because it's coming out Sunday. But we get that all on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of those episodes. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. More on them later. All right, Steelers fans. So as I said, score doesn't matter at the end of the day with preseason games. But I thought the biggest thing that's a good sign, even though a lot of the starters sat, a lot of the starters for the Jaguars played. I thought that was interesting. But a lot of the starters sat for the Steelers, including their starting quarterback and number one wide receiver, and a lot of their defense. But I thought there should be an appreciation for the process that they went through in this game and how smooth they looked throughout this game. You go back and you look at how they operated from drive to drive. Their opening drive on offense is a touchdown drive, 9 plays, 75 yards. Mason Rudolph just guides them down the field. They have one penalty. They erased it pretty quickly. They had 4 first downs. And then Skylar Thompson comes in. He throws 3 touchdown passes, 20 of 28 for 233 yards. In all of these plays, I saw an offenses that were coordinated, that were pointed, that everyone knew where they were supposed to be, and it seemed like they kind of had good heads on their shoulders. And that's not something you always see in preseason games. In fact, in a lot of preseason games, you see procedural penalties. You see guys lining up offsides, guys lining up in the wrong formations, or more holds and more penalties left and right that are just fixable things that get fixed by the start of the season. But you didn't see that a lot in this game. I think that's a good sign moving forward as far as the coordination of the offense. Now, granted, again, the main people that started on offense that are going to start for the season, the offensive line minus Isaac Seumalo. We saw Caleb Johnson get a lot of play in this game. Roman Wilson. We'll get to them. I want to get to the trenches in the last segment of this show because that's something else I want to focus on separately. I still haven't done a lot of film study on this game. I just watched it raw, kind of raw from Pittsburgh here. As you can see, I'm no longer in Latrobe. I will be back in Latrobe for practices Monday and Tuesday, so be on lookout for that as well. But in all seriousness, talking about what the Steelers did, I thought the process was really good when you saw the way Mason Rudolph was able to conduct the offense, move things around. And as Aaron Rodgers, he said it on Wednesday, preseason, the defenses aren't throwing anything at you. Everything's bland. Everything's simple. It's more so just trying to get people settled into their roles. But I thought the things that we saw were encouraging, and especially 2 things that I saw right off the rip when it comes to the offense. Roman Wilson getting open, making a good catch in the middle part of the field, making 2 good catches in this game. Caught both of his targets for 24 yards total. That's encouraging. And that one catch was a 19-yarder. I believe it was a 3rd down conversion. I know it at least moved the sticks, but that was really encouraging to see Roman Wilson making a play like that because, there was a concern that you wouldn't see Roman Wilson make any plays like that because for the first week or so at camp, he was barely seen. And as a person who's been to all but one training camp practice, I was looking to see more of Roman Wilson, but as I've been telling y'all for the last week and a half, Roman Wilson's been looking pretty decent. He's been starting to peak himself up, and this week I thought he had a really good week of practices, and he followed that up with a good play in this game. And I'll also say Darnell Washington continues to show why I think that maybe he needs to find a way to get this guy on the field, man. Like that touchdown that he had, it was the 19-yard touchdown. It was the only grab in the game, but it was a perfect little seam route. Just runs a little outside, runs a little inside, gets in front of his man. The ball goes up, he catches it, and just with his size, if he catches the ball inside the 5 and he's got momentum, probably going to score a touchdown. And that's what happened. And Mason Rudolph put it in a really good spot. I thought Mason Rudolph was super smooth in this game. You know, I thought those were all encouraging things that you wanted to see from the guys that are going to, you know, maybe see some action, you know, on that. And I think it's just encouraging just to see that, like, nothing looked, you know, out of the ordinary. Nothing looked uncomfortable, because those are the things that I do look for in preseason. Like, you know, can they limit those types of penalties, or how far ahead or behind are they when it comes to those types of things, and being comfortable with what you're doing with your specific role. And I thought defensively it was a very similar thing, and we'll go over that more in a bit. But you know, that's the thing that has to happen, and that comes from the coaching staff. I think, you know, doing a good job with them this early in the season. Now, it still won't matter. It still doesn't mean that everything's fixed and this is how it's going to be all year long. But you know, a lot of the things that they were doing in this game, they weren't doing late last season, and I think that was, these are good signs that hey, they're able to at least get some of the basics done. They did that. And now they've set sort of a foundation where they can come back and say, okay, guys, we did this right, we did this wrong. Let's go at it and attack it next week. But there is a good model there for you, for if you're looking at the Steelers and if they want to move the ball through the air, that they can do it even with the weapons at their disposal, because they are going to attack the middle of the field. And as I've been saying, just watching how they've been practicing, the middle of the field is going to open up more this year. Part of that's because they're going to trust Aaron Rodgers, but as you saw even in this game, they trusted Mason Rudolph to make some of those throws over the middle. That's something that they hadn't really done in recent years. You know, and again, I think it's going to be interesting to see once they get all the receivers and, you know, pass catchers on the field at the same time. You know, how do they spread the ball around? What's the personnel items? How many chances does a Darnell Washington get when you also have DK Metcalf, when you also have Pat Freiermuth, when you also have Jonnu Smith? And then you're still trying to get your 2 and 3 wide receivers on the field, like Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin. You know, I think that's a good question to see where that goes in the near future. But bottom line for me, I liked the process. I liked the offense, the way it moved. I liked even the offensive line, and we'll get more into the different parts, some more evaluations of the trenches. But I thought when it came to a logistics standpoint or a you know, schematic standpoint, you know, when the Jaguars, they did run some twists. They didn't do anything really too fancy, but I saw the offensive line pick all those things up. Like, you know, I saw stunts and twists, and a lot of times when Mason Rudolph dropped back, or you know, he had time, and that's a good thing. And I thought that was a sign of an encouraging sign for the offensive line, as it was, that they were at least in the right spots, taking on the right guys in the right spaces. The one sack that they gave up early was, I believe, Spencer Anderson was playing left guard, and that was more of a coverage sack. Mason Rudolph had the ball in the pocket for a very long time, just needed to get rid of it, didn't. But, you know, hey, again, preseason, he's trying to make something happen. He's trying to give his teammates a chance to make a play in a game that's not going to ultimately hurt us if they lose. Not too mad at Mason or anything for that, but I do think that the offensive line showed pretty good stuff in pass protection in this game, because there was a chance for them to be discombobulated and to be disorganized and to look sloppy, and they didn't. And I think they get points for that. Now, again, it's the preseason. It does not mean that everything's great and fine and they're locked in and ready to go. They still got a long ways to go before they prove anything like that. But for a first test run, this was pretty smooth. You didn't see too many penalties that were killing the team. That, you know, the ones that did kind of come back was, you know, Darnell Washington dunking over the goalpost, which I just thought was kind of funny. Not the penalty, but like just the fact that he did that, and I was just like, wow, that used to be really cool. You know, 6 penalties for 60 yards. Some of them like holding penalties, illegal hands to the face. Troy Faltano got caught with that, but nothing that was like crushing. And I thought that was a good sign for the Steelers in this game, that they had a game so smooth. I want to talk more about what I saw from some of these younger players that are up and rising, especially Roman Wilson, especially Darnell Washington, but also on the other side of the ball, defense, Payton Wilson. We'll talk about them, and then we'll get to the trenches in a bit too, because they're a big part of what I've been trying to evaluate closer. And even without film study, I had some thoughts on them. All that's coming up next on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I'll remind you, this show is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Time to fuel up and turn it up with a 5 Hour Energy transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're sinking birdies or just making memories with friends, it's a hole-in-one for your energy game. let's be honest, some days on the course or off it, you just need that extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I'm not a golfer, but I do feel on my game when I go to Top Golf and I'm able to hit that back net with a driver. Golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors, of course. The grape ginger lime flavor gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without chasing down the Bev cart. If you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is the number 5hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code LOCKEDONGolf to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to win 18 holes or turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through by ordering transfusion-flavored 5-Hour Energy shots today. Back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast, I'm your host, Chris Carter. We continue talking about our insights and observations from the first preseason win. All in all, I thought the defense played pretty well. I mean, they kept them out of the end zone for the entire first half. Trevor Lawrence did play, I believe, at least a series, maybe two. I think he just played one. Again, I haven't done my film rewatch of this yet to study things closely. This was sort of a raw watch, and then I did a Post-Gazette post-game show, which you can find with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. I did our Locked On Squad show. Shout out to our guys Tyler and Wayne, Tyler Feldman and Wayne Gandy for doing that. We're going to try to do those more and more throughout the season, one during the week and then one after the games. I won't always be available post-game because, as y'all know, I wear 1,000 hats around here. But when I can, I'll try to hop on those. I hope that you hop on there with me and support us as we continue to build out this network and this program. So thanks to everyone who was part of that. Do catch those, throughout the week and then after games. But let's talk about the defense, because I thought I saw some encouraging things, and the discouraging things weren't too discouraging. Just kind of like I wonder what's going on there. And I want to get to some of those, because a lot of what I saw that's in that wonder what's going on there is kind of like the same thing that I saw from the offensive line. I didn't see enough nasty, and I want to save this for the next segment, because I think this deserves its own segment, because both sides of the ball felt like this with those young guys in the trenches. But I did see a lot of coordination also on the defensive side of the ball. Remember, Payton Wilson was in the green dot, and we asked him about those responsibilities. We talked about that on our Friday show, and I thought he looked smooth. He was playing fast. Even though they allowed that fourth and short conversion, that one play where he picked up the guy and slammed him. I thought that was a sort of like that Jack Lambert statement that you don't intimidate us, we intimidate you type of plays. And after that, they didn't allow the Jaguars in the end zone until the second half, when the second team defense was in. So and granted, this kind of was the second team defense. None of the top three corners were there. No Deshaun Elliott, no Cam Hayward, no TJ Watt, no Alex Highsmith, no Nick Herbig, no Patrick Queen. There were just so many guys that were just out from this game. But even the guys that stayed, I wasn't pretty impressed by. I thought Brandon Echols did a pretty good job. He had a really good play where he was playing a low buzz zone and then backed up and kind of baited the quarterback into a throw and then almost picked it off, but got his hands on it to deflect the pass. I thought he looked pretty good in this one. I thought that Payton Wilson again was flying around making plays. I thought Cole Holcomb did a really good job. There were a couple third downs that looked like they were going after him, and each time he was right in position, and he said, "Go ahead, go after me." And there was one time it was a good play call for a preseason game. The Jaguars put a guy in motion. It forced Cole Holcomb to run out of his position and run with the guy, and he was right in position. And granted, the throw wasn't great, but oftentimes when a defender plays a situation well enough, it just forces a tighter passing window, and that's when you get mistakes, when quarterbacks try to force the ball into a spot that's not that great. And I thought he did that a few times. So shout out to Cole Holcomb. I thought that he did a really good job in this one. I thought that Beanie Bishop did a good job. There was one play where I believe again, I have to rewatch the film. It was his last breakup, I think it was. And it was a play where it looked like the inside receiver ran a wheel route around another wide receiver, so he had to kind of work through them to get it. And the ball was behind; otherwise, it would have been, probably a bigger play. But Beanie Bishop caught up to it. Caught up to the play, made a play on the ball, made it tough on the receiver, and the ball was incomplete. So I think that was a good sign there. But the biggest thing that I thought was important, much like the offense, was the process looked like it made sense when they were communicating. And again, these are mostly backups. They looked all like they were in their right positions. They looked like they weren't too often caught off guard. They didn't look like they were flying, they're running around with their heads cut off. They looked like they were playing coordinated defense, winning certain spots. And that's what you want out of your defense. You want your defense to be able to win those spots. And win situational football, but also be dominant. And again, they're doing this without their best players in the field. So I think a good kudos is deserved from especially these defensive players off the ball who kind of came in big for the Steelers this time. And again, like there's young players on both sides, up and coming players on both sides of the ball for the Steelers. We're talking about Darnell Washington and Roman Wilson as playmakers in this game. But also, like on defense, you got Cole Holcomb, you got all these other guys that are playing well. There's a lot of good things going on for the Steelers right now, and it's really exciting. Also, throw Payton Wilson into that younger up and comers group there. I think there's a lot to like about this Steelers team. It's why I keep saying like, hey, I don't think this team is just gonna go 9-8, 8-9, or anything lower than that. I think that the Steelers team can get to 11 wins this year. I do think that they have that potential. But again, this isn't because of anything I saw in the preseason game. The preseason game is just confirming some of the things that I thought I was seeing, and at least I'm still observing. So those are things that we're going to keep an eye on when it comes to how the Steelers develop. Because I thought, as far as developmental wise, when it comes to playmakers and quarterbacking and offensive line as a unit, I thought that this was a good preseason debut. But there's a big part of the Steelers team that I think is supposed to be a different kind of a tone setter, and it hasn't been that way. I want to talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes getting concert tickets also easier and faster than ever. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear set views, and a low set in the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Tired of endlessly scrolling to trying to find your best deal? Gametime's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. Take the guesswork out of buying with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. And that's code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Lowest price, last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. We're continuing with our bonus episode here. I will say this. It was not all sunshines and rainbows for the Steelers, as it rarely is. I did think that they could have showed a little bit more in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Now, again, the offensive line protected, I thought, well through most of the game. In early on, those short distance runs, they were clearing out space, and I thought that was good. But I still think that on both sides of the ball, you want to see a little bit more nasty, because Derrick Harmon also, the biggest time I noticed him was when he kind of stunted on an inside move and got into the passing lane of the quarterback, and the quarterback threw an interception, but the interception got waved off because of roughing the passer. I believe it was on Loudermilk. But ultimately, I still think this is a team the Steelers have here that can be really good, but it can be even much better with a strong offensive line and defensive line. And I think that that's where the defensive line and the offensive line was guilty of this too. I don't think that either one of them was too strong in this game. They were coordinated. They were in the right spots, but they didn't like bully people. And that's what you want to see. But again, it takes time to bully people in this business and to, as a competitor. So I think that's part of it. And that's just understanding how that works. But when it comes to what the Steelers are going to need to see soon, I think they're going to need to see some of these offensive linemen start to mature. And I think that means not just pass protecting, which is a big part of it, right? I think that was Broderick Jones' biggest struggle last year. But now we're talking about this group needing to win more right now to try to see some things before the preseason's over. I do think that the Steelers, when it comes to the defensive line, they could have done a little bit better against the run. They could have gotten a little bit more pressure. But the interception that was thrown that was wiped out by the Loudon play, it was caused by a pressure from Derrick Harmon. I thought he did a good job there. I will say it was odd that I didn't see a lot of YA Black. And then Mike Tomlin after the game noted there were no really new injury updates, even though no one asked him a question. But, preseason football, a lot of road people don't go to that one, like I don't. But yeah, I thought that there could have been more nasty in the trenches when it came to run blocking, as well as when it came to winning on defense more consistently. I thought that there was a lot more letting other guys make the plays. But hey, that might be the structure, right? It might be the plan with Derrick Harmon and YA Black might be to just take on double teams, hold them up, and let the linebackers go do the work, which would be a good strategy if it works. But I really think that the Steelers team defensively and offensively needs to be goons in the trenches if they're going to win this year, if they're going to take a step forward. If they're just like a bunch of average guys and they're not really growing, that's going to be a problem, and that's going to be something that gets addressed. But I still think we got a long ways to go through there. In fact, we have 2 more days of training camp before they break camp on Wednesday. And then we'll get to cover their joint practice with the Buccaneers before their Saturday preseason game. But we'll have that for you to watch right here on this channel. We'll be talking about things all rested through the week, getting you ready for another week of Steelers in the preseason. Will Aaron Rodgers play? Will DK Metcalf play? Will Jalen Ramsey play? All those questions will need to be answered. We'll keep an eye on things here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. This has been your bonus episode reacting to the Steelers win over the I'm already forgetting who they play, the Jaguars. Preseason does not matter, guys. We broke that down. We'll break more things down once I watch the film. I'll also work on some other things. But we talk about all of that here in the Locked On Steelers podcast. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, the same handle everywhere. It's at Carter Critiques. You can read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette by going to post-gazette.com. And you can find me here on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to this channel to get all of those episodes. Back here tomorrow with more on your Steelers right here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.